Alright guys, so in this video we are going to be saving the state of the editor. So what that means is whenever I type stuff and I refresh the page, it's going to stay in sync with the editor over here, and we're also going to persist the state so when we come back it's going to keep all that data. So that's what we're going to be doing. And I was thinking a couple ways I wanted to go about doing this. The first one, and this is probably the most ideal way, and I'm guessing similar to how Google Docs does it, is you kind of keep three different states for the editor. So we have state number one, because this is browser one. This is another state over here for the second browser, and then also a state on the server. And then whenever someone makes a change on this editor, it syncs with the operation with the editor on the server, and it also syncs with the one on the browser over here. And so whenever an operation's made, we're merging both on the server side and the client side, something like that, where we are keeping a state and merging on operations, so we don't have conflicts, or we can basically, if we get two things, we can merge the conflicts successfully and that sort of thing. But I believe that's going to be way too complex, so we're going to go a simpler route where basically every time we make an operation, we're just going to save the state to the server with a WebSocket connection, or when we emit a Socket.io event. So this may have some drawbacks, but the advantage is it is dead simple to do. As we'll see, it's going to be a nice way to start off. Now, before we dig into that, I wanted to get rid of this little warning we have right here and make a quick fix that I learned about from you guys in the comments of last video. So let's start with this. So not my server, but in my Slate initial value, they basically made a change in Slate where you no longer have to have this property called leaves, so we can just kill that. And so it should look like this. So we have a node called object, and it's a text object or text node, and then the text is directly here. So you should see no visible change except the warning goes away, but it should work exactly the same. Also, what I learned from you guys is I had no idea that Socket.io actually parses the JSON for us, or at least you can just send JavaScript objects back and forth. So I actually don't have to stringify when we send a event with the operations. I do not need to stringify it. And if I don't have to stringify it, I don't have to parse it over here. So that's pretty neat. All right. And change the type, operation, and this is an array. So now, if I type stuff, we're going to get the exact same result, but now we're not parsing the JSON, which is nice. So cool. So let's jump into actually saving some stuff on the server. So basically, the idea is whenever we do onChange, we get a totally new editor instance. In this case, not editor instance, it's actually called a value. But we say ops.value and we're setting the value. So the idea is we can also send this value in the new operation. So we can say value is equal to options.value.toJSON, or we could do to.js. I'm not sure which one is faster. We'll do .toJSON. And so we're going to send the JSON with the request. And so on the server, I'm going to be able to see the state of it as it changes. So if I do console.log data.value and I restart my server, every time I make a change, we're going to see the state of it right here. In this case, it's going to be buried in the nodes here, so we really can't see anything right now, but we can save this value if we want to. So ideally, you can save this thing in a database, and the way you want to store this in a database is just say json.stringify data.value, and then you can store it in a string column. In my case, to keep things simple, I'm not going to worry about a database. I'm just going to say value is equal to, actually what I really should set the value to is the initial state value, so let's do that. Do that. And bring that over here. And then I'm going to say let. All right, so what I'm planning on doing is every time we get a new event, I'm going to set the value equal to the new value that we get. So the idea is what's sitting in this variable is the updated state of the editor. Now, yes, this could have some problems with race conditions, so this editor is not ideal for people that are typing right at the right, or typing right at the same time. That's going to cause some problems, most likely. But yeah, this is a simple way that we can do it. So we have this, and we're setting it here. Basically, what we want to do is when someone does a new socket connection, we want to just give them the current value. So we can say socket or io.emit. Could call it init if we wanted to, or how about new value or initial value, and then we can pass in the value here. And now on our server, well, we need to restart our server, but on our client, when we first connect, we can listen for the initial value. So over in our syncing editor, I can add socket.once. So I only want to listen for this event once. And basically we want to load the data then. So I'm not actually doing anything there. I just want to see the console log and see if that works. We get load data there. Interesting enough, it doesn't come over here. So if I refresh here, load data pops over there. I wonder if it's because adds a listener for the variable invoked a single time before automatically removed. That's what I want. I was expecting it to be in both places. And the nice thing about this is it's going to automatically remove itself, which that's actually something I wanted to do as well. I'm not removing the socket connection that I'm doing here. So let's do that real quick. Socket dot off, and we can pass the event. So this is the cleanup function in useEffect. So thank you guys for reminding me about that too. So we can turn off the socket when we're done with it, and the cleanup function here. And we don't have to do that for once, because that is not that is cleaning up itself. So I'm curious if in our emit over here, init value, and we have init value here. I'm very curious why this is only doing it in a single one. So let me just make sure I see. It was getting it a couple times. Oh, I think it may just take a second to pop up. Is that it? Okay. I'm going to just get rid of the console log, and I'm going to do get our value here, and I'm going to say set value is equal to value.fromJSON. So notice when we in our slate.initial value, we have to turn the JSON into a value to actually be passed to the editor. So we're going to do the same thing here because that's our value. We could say this is a value JSON. Now it's just called value. All right, so we'll import this. So the value of this is a value JSON. All right, so let's see if this is working how I want it to. 1, 2, and if I refresh, stays there. 3, 4. Interesting. So I refresh, and this guy is not getting the update. 5, 6. My typing is pretty poor today. So I'm not sure what I need to do to get the event to just populate every time on the initial load. I think what I'm doing, where I'm doing it on connection, I'm emitting an event, is probably the wrong way to do it. So let me see if I can figure out a better way. So I thought of kind of a hacky way, and this may not be the most ideal, but one idea I had was just to create a new event here that we listen for called send value. And when we get this event, we're just going to omit the initial value. So then in my editor, once I listen for the initial value, I can say socket.emit, and what did I call it? Send value. Oops. And let's refresh this. 1, 2. Alright, I'm refreshing a bunch. That seems to work there. I'm not even bother trying to type English anymore. Alright, this seems to be working better. Now, I bet there's probably a better way to, on the first socket connection, send some data. That may be even the best way. So I'm going to do a little research and let me know in the comments below if you guys know of any ways that we can clean up this part a little bit, where we initially send some data on the first socket connection maybe. But this seems to be working for now, so we can keep this if this is indeed the best way. But that's it for this video, guys. That is how we can persist the data for our editor.